And we're going.
And so we do it this way every week because these go to a YouTube channel that you all can access at any time. They're recorded. And so we get to capture all these wonderful stories. And we also then separate it so that the stories, if you want just those, or if you want the training aspect of our meeting, that's there as well. But I have to say, in listening to all of it, certainly I identify with a lot of the results I've heard. I'll have to, go to Cheryl here just a minute when two or three things. One, Cheryl, I think is that our next piece of literature from the company on the Tower Garden should say, no digging in the dirt so my back doesn't hurt. I love that. Okay, that should be the title. Uh, but I'll never forget after I was on this a few years and I went to my eye doctor and I've been on it maybe 6 years and he says, your eyes are, you just don't understand. They're so much younger than when you were here last time. So I said, yeah, hopefully the whole body's doing that. And I think it has. So, but wonderful to hear all the stories tonight and so beautiful. And for each and every one of you, just so happy for you. So proud for Barbara that she chose food over, we know medications are important and there are times when you absolutely need them, but I watched my mother really suffered many years of her life with rheumatoid arthritis, and the medication was the serious problem. So proud for you, Barbara, and happy that it's worked out well. Well, again, welcome everyone. And for those of you maybe that I've not met, my name is Cheryl Cortese. I'm a national marketing director with the Juice Plus Company, and I've been here for 33 and a half years now. I'm looking forward to the next 33. Uh, I, I really enjoy this so much every day. It's hard to believe that you would attach the word work to it because it's a total joy. And I love that we get to meet this way and that our group is a significant size, but we're not thousands yet, which we will be someday. So we get to all have conversation and talk with each other. And my goal hopefully is at this time every week is to add a little bit from a training standpoint. As we grow up in this, we grow up in product knowledge, which is, the product's pretty simple, okay? And yet it's very powerful. And we grow up in business knowledge and we grow up in really directing and growing our own businesses because we are the president and owner of each and every one of our own companies. And so it's always hopefully to add to that experience in a way that will give you more and more information and experience to, grow the biggest and best business ever. Over the last 2 weeks, we really talked a lot about positive thought, really having that positive mindset. Our product's amazing. Our business is one that is very powerful. You only have to be around here for a few years and for all the right reasons. And then, of course, if we're looking at the person you really have to manage, it's you. Okay. And so we talked about positive thought, how to really keep yourself in a state that is prosperous and productive. And so tonight we're going to go a little step further and talk more about leadership. And we're going to have someone join us that did a great job on one of our calls. We do a Wednesday morning training call. It's a listen call as well. And so Arlita Winston is going to share with you some thoughts on, the difference between management and leadership. And I think more than ever, stepping into a leadership role is really, it's really truly servant leadership. It's how you serve others and how you do the best for other people to help make their lives better. And that certainly is something that brings a lot of emotional revenue as well and reward. But sometimes, the lines can get blurred as to management or leadership. And she's going to share some thoughts with you on that. I love the way she compared it to family. We talk about the Juice Plus company as the Juice Plus family. And that's something that we've really, truly, I think, been to each other over all these years in times that were wonderful and thriving and times that were challenging. And I think that's the beauty of who we are and what we do. I have a tendency to refer to all of you on my teams as my babies, okay, because that's what we do, is we grow each other up, okay? And so She's going to use the family as the example in it as well. So if I have Arlita Winston with me, please. And Arlita is a national marketing director. She's got a very powerful business of her own, and she has been very consistent in successfully continuing to grow that business. And so, Arlita, are you here?
She's here. Let me unmute her and see.
Okay.
I'm asking her to unmute here really quick.
Okay.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
So she's going to share.
Yes, I'm here.
We'll come back. Okay.
Can you hear me?
There she is. She
Good.
and I've got some guy behind you. Okay.
That's my husband of almost in a few weeks, it'll be 63 years that we've been married.
Congratulations.
So I have loved, I actually came into this business as a mom, and I never thought I would be selling fruits and vegetables. Actually, I was really wanting to be a doctor. And when Joe asked me to marry him, one night on a rainy night, we were snuggling up under an umbrella, and we loved walking in the rain. And he snuggled up to me and he said, you know, I don't really want to come home to a doctor. See, he was a doctor. And he says, I don't really want to come home to a doctor. I'd like to come home to my wife and the mother of my children. Would you be willing to give up medicine? I said, is that what would make you the happiest? And that is, I have never looked back. That's exactly what I did. And I came into this Juice Plus business as a mom we reared 5 children. They gave us 28 grandchildren. And those grands gave us 24 great grandchildren. So I know a little bit about a lot of things and a master of only a little bit. Well, we describe our Juice Plus business as being a family, and I want to talk about how we are like a family. In a family, the roles of mother and daddy overlap continually. They really become both leaders and managers. So what is a family? All because 2 people want to love one another. They're designed to reproduce. Sometimes a baby is planned, and sometimes it's a great surprise. You know, some people come into our business because they just want to get healthy and want the product to pay for itself, but they fall in love with the product and the people in our business, and guess what? They have a new partner to join them. And it all begins with loving on people. Fruit, results. Now, you just might love on people 25 times before a partner is born. And we learn how to feed that baby with great nutrition. Mothers nurse their infants, giving of themselves. They're clean themselves. They use clean bowls and spoons, and they must feed that wee one consistently, or that baby dies. We need to be really clean in our information and not give wrong information. So it's really important to know the whats and the whys and the hows of our nutrition. We need to know some of the science behind our product, and how often are we touching base on a consistent basis with our Juice Plus babies. Then comes the diapering. That means cleaning up messes daily. And this should be a given in our minds. Babies poop and pee, and we are there to help them clean up and be comfortable. Our partners sometimes know, and sometimes they don't know when their diaper is full, but we can usually smell it way off in another room or another nation, another country, actually. Just by zooming, we can smell it. Do we scold them for doing what comes naturally? No. And as a family grows, playing and having fun should be a part of every waking moment. Discipline walks hand in hand with being cheerful. Now, this takes maturity. We have mothers, we have grandmothers, we have great grandmothers to help us. And Cheryl Cortese, as she said, she calls all of her NMDs my babies. Simplicity is critical in our teaching. One teaches a rep or a partner to do one thing at a time. My mother used to say to us, one step at a time is good walking. And in our family, jobs were extremely important for our family to work together. And we need to make those jobs appropriate to the partner and their maturity. We need to work right along with them until they are certain of what they're doing. Know what the strengths of team members are so that they can get the job done quickly and then go to have fun and to celebrate. So teaching and training on the job, there is a difference, by the way, but that's another chapter in family development. Both teaching and training are needed consistently. And this comes with consistent practice, with the parent coming alongside, showing them how it's done, encouraging them constantly. And sometimes it can become rather tense because punishment sometimes is involved in a family. Hopefully, it's the kind of punishment that the rep really learns as a result of simply losing out on something they could have had. And they soon discover it themselves. But a sponsor's job is to involve them in that process. When teaching a young mom, I find that they often know in their heads exactly what to do, but they become weary with good reason. And so it is the consistency that they fail in. I want to tell you a story about my own failure in this arena after I talk about the differences in leadership and management. And as I describe them, you are likely to see yourself in both of those roles. But it's terribly important in our Juice Plus family to know what is needed and when. And I often find that both are needed. The main difference, that's Joe's alarm going off, sorry. The main difference between leaders and managers, sorry. I'm sorry. The main difference between leaders and managers is that leaders have people to follow them, while managers have people who work with and for them. And early success in Juice Plus is dependent on being a really good manager. Excelling in Juice Plus requires becoming a really good leader. We need both. Both serve vital roles. And I'm going to give you probably about 10, 12, or 14 of differences between leadership and leading and managing. But I just want to really say that we need both. Our challenge lies in making sure we're both leading our teams as well as managing the day-to-day operation. They're two different functions. A really good leader, a good parent, a good mom, a good dad, does not micromanage his team. Darren Hardy, this is a quote from Darren Hardy. A leader without a manager is just chaos. And a manager without a leader is, well, the government. Several years ago, I took a short course led by Darren Hardy, and many of you have probably read the book, The Compound Effect. If you haven't, I would highly recommend. It was Cheryl Cortese who recommended that some years ago for her NMDs to read, The Compound Effect. And some of these things that I'm going to share with you, I learned from him. Some I just learned on my own, being a mom. But I was fascinated by his comparisons with the leader and the manager, and I took lots of notes. And so these are some of his observations and mine. So number one, and I'm going to try to give you the differences between these two. And if you're taking notes, take them and later go back over them and see how you can apply it to your particular business in Juice Plus. So number one, being a leader has to do with the inspirational quality. whereas a manager deals with efficiency in getting that quality. You know, Jay Martin exemplifies that leader with a vision. Juice Plus, a quality product that can help others to realize their dreams. Then he develops a team who can both manage and train up even more leaders. So being a leader has to do with the inspirational quality, whereas a manager deals with the efficiency in getting that quality. Number 2, a leader figures out the right things to do and the right direction to take, whereas a manager works out how to do that right thing and tries to reduce the cost it takes to get there. Number 3, a leader figures out the what, the where, and the why. Now, a manager figures out the how and the when. You can see already how a mother and a father and a family, they're working together to get all of this pulled together in synergy so that they're working together effectively. And one thing that our family learned how to do very quickly is to have fun. We tried to get our work done really, really fast so that we could have fun. Okay, number 4, a leader casts and champions the vision. Remember, it's the vision. He paints the picture. It's a grand destination. The adventure is often along the way, and he builds a culture that allows and nurtures top talent to thrive. Where do you want to go? And he works with his team in charting a path for the future. He thinks about the goals in an active way instead of a reactive way. He shapes the ideas instead of responding to them. And a leader sells the people on the ideas and sometimes audacious vision and goals and ambitions. I can remember when my upline national marketing director kept saying, Arlita, where do you want to be 5 years from now? And I said, 5 years from now, I just want to know 3 months from now. She kept saying, no, I want to know 5 years from now, where you want to be. A leader sells people on ideas and audacious vision and goals and ambitions, whereas a manager, on the other hand, drives those goals. He tells people what to do, how to meet the quotas. He makes sure that the train comes on time and stocks up with all the supplies that no one else thought about ahead of time. And he is able to execute the vision. I found myself on that end of the stick most of the time in our family, raising our family. He embraces the process. He takes a strategic vision and breaks it down into a roadmap to be followed. He instinctively tries to resolve the problems quickly, and sometimes before he fully even understands the problem's significance. And he makes sure everyone does their job on time. Resources don't run dry. Number 5, a leader is concerned with people, whereas a manager is concerned with the process. So back to the leader, concerned with people, they are unique. They work actively to build their unique personal brand. They're comfortable in their own shoes and willing to stand out. They're authentic and they're transparent. You know, I think of Joe and me when we were rearing our 5 children. It was fascinating to see how all 5 of them were totally different, having different gifts, yet you could all tell they were Winstons, that was for sure, but every one of them was so unique and authentic. A manager is more concerned with the process. He builds a team that fulfills the leader's vision. He promotes and he develops a tried and proven system rather than defining it. Number 6, a leader leads people. It's very personal. A manager manages the work. He is more impersonal. Number 7, a leader keeps his eye on the horizon. A manager keeps his eyes on the bottom line. Number 8, a leader takes risks. They paint a picture of what they see as possible, and they want to inspire others to turn that vision into a reality. And they activate people to be a part of something bigger. And they know that teams can accomplish a whole lot more working together than working autonomously. They're willing to try new things, even if they may fail miserably. They know that failure is often a step on the path to success. In fact, if you aren't willing to fail, you're not going to grow too well. A manager, instead of taking risks, he controls and minimizes those risks. They seek to avoid or control problems. Managers focus on setting, measuring, and achieving those goals. They control situations so that they reach those objectives. So already, I think you're seeing how we are both of these in our Juice Plus business. But we need to know when to be the leader and when to be the manager. Number 9, leaders are change agents. They challenge the status quo. Innovation is their mantra. They embrace change. You know that even if things are working, there could be a better way. They also understand and accept the fact that changes to the system can often make waves. Managers instead keep the status quo. They stick with what works, refining the systems, structures, and processes to make them better. Number 10, a leader thinks long-term. He charts new roads. They have intentionality. They do what they say they're going to do, and they stay motivated toward a big and, often a very distant goal. They remain motivated without receiving regular rewards. I sometimes think of Cheryl Cortese saying, I don't remember getting any of those bonuses when I became a national marketing director. No, she remained motivated without receiving regular rewards. Managers think short term. They work on shorter term goals, seeking more regular recognition. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different place that we are. Number 11, I think I can do a couple more. A leader leads with his heart, whereas a manager follows with his head. Number 12, leaders grow personal. Leaders know if they aren't learning something new every single day, they aren't standing still, they're falling behind. They're curious. They seek to remain relevant in an ever-changing world of work. They seek out people and information that expands their thinking. Managers rely on existing and proven skills. You see, we're really both in our Juice Plus business. They trust what made them successful in the past, and they want to perfect existing skills and adopting proven behaviors. Number 13, leaders build relationships. Leaders inspire and focus on people. All they need to influence in order to realize their vision. Their vision is still the most important thing. They spend most of their time with those people. They build loyalty and trust by consistently delivering on their promise. Whereas leaders build relationships, managers build systems and processes. They focus on the structures necessary to set and achieve their goals. They focus on the analytical. They influence individuals and their goals and their objectives. And then the last one I want to give you, number 14, leaders coach and managers direct. Leaders coach. They find the people to work with them to solve problems on their own. They tell people what to do, but they encourage them to figure out how to do it. Whereas managers direct, they assign tasks and provide guidance on how to accomplish them. Okay, I want to give you my big aha moment as a mom with children who were becoming adults. I've thought about this painful, painful day many times since becoming a national marketing director in my business. I've thought about it more than once. You see, in our family, we had a really great system of daily jobs so that our household ran smoothly. I was a manager. Each person's job was changed every 2 weeks, posted on the fridge. This way, everyone would learn how to do everything. They would learn how to cook, they would learn how to clean. And as soon as possible, the youngest one learned how to bring waste paper baskets to one place and empty them. This started at about the time they learned how to run. So you can imagine my 2-year-olds were very busy trying to keep up with the older ones. The older ones learned how to make their beds, clean their own rooms, their bathrooms, how to plan, how to cook meals, how to supervise. And it was important to do them daily, just for a little bit. It was a 30-minute job every single day, and on Saturday, a little bit longer. On Saturdays, the older ones would earn money for certain projects if they wanted to. They needed to be done by a certain time, and I had it all fixed so that we could play and enjoy most of the day. This particular Saturday was in the fall, and leaves needed to be raked. And 2 of our sons, 13 and 15, had signed up to do it. They tumbled out of bed, all ready to start the day. Then Brad announced that there was a soccer match to start that started at 9 o'clock, and he and Joe wanted to be at it. Well, it was 8. Sure, you can go, I said. But don't forget the raking has to be done first, I said very brightly. I was a mom on a mission, keeping integrity, consistency, work, and fun, in that order, in the forefront of my training our children. You see, they were still young. I had been at it for 17 years by that time, and I wasn't about to hand over the reins. I was the mom. Have you ever played tennis and worked your backhand and your forehand so hard that when you went to put your racket down, your fingers couldn't unwind from the handle? Well, that's what happened that day. I was really wanting to be a fantastic mom. I was wanting to be consistent, and I was wanting to train my children to be consistent. And I was forgetting that they were getting older. I still had my focus on the younger ones, and I'd forgotten that the older ones really had become very responsible. And I couldn't let go of my manager mode in this particular situation that Saturday morning. They must finish their jobs before having fun. Now, sure, it was only going to be an hour, but it had to be done right away. I simply couldn't adjust quickly enough to see that our sons were usually consistent, and they knew they had a job to do, and their job could have been done later that day. It all seems so clear to me now. I don't know how I could have missed it, but I became totally undone the next moment because I looked up at 2 sons taller than myself, and I saw fire in their eyes. This is the first time I was truly frightened of my children. They did finish raking up the leaves before going to the soccer. My husband Joe came home for lunch, and he had been seeing patients at the office, but the air was electric. All we had to do was look at each other. Joe knew there had been a war that morning. He ended up taking the boys aside and heard their story, and then he took me aside and heard mine. He helped me to see what I could have said, but he told me, he said, don't ever put me in that position again. That day was a watershed for me. I had been a poor manager. I had hung on so tightly, wanting to do the job so well. That morning, my husband was the true leader, and he taught me about leading in a better way. And I gathered the children, all 5 of them, and told them I had been wrong. peace ruled after that. You know, as leaders, we need to step out of inspecting and overseeing. Instead, we need to spend time looking at the business as a business that builds up our leaders. What are their strengths? We need to get really clear about our roles at any particular time. There are going to be times we need to do the job of a manager. There's no question about that. You can't have a good team without managing. You need to be appropriate and think through it. And what I'm hoping you'll do is to take these 14 different things. I think I could have thought of a few more, and then with Darren Hardy's help, even a few more than that. But think about how it applies to your Juice Plus business and to your team members. Maybe write their names in. Find out what their strengths are. Encourage them to be those leaders. Where do you need managers in your team? Are the right people in the right role doing the right things? Make some clear distinctions because we need both. Both serve vital roles, and it's very important for them to be interchangeable and to recognize at that moment when they need to be a leader and when they need to be a manager. So let's build our teams to become both leaders and managers, but there is a distinction. And with that, our teams will grow up to be really, really reproductive families. So let me turn it back over to you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Arlita. And, you know, so much has been said in such little time. We could talk probably for another hour, and maybe next week we'll discuss some of the aspects, you know, just kind of continue with aspects of leadership, because she said so much in this short time is that you have to kind of be a combination of holding the big picture and yet being able to function in day-to-day operations. And that is important for inspiration. And that day-to-day operations is so important for functioning and growth. But it's also real important if you're going to really maximize this business at the highest level, if you're going to maximize financially, if you're going to maximize every aspect, from the joy of it to the results, you know, financially and from a standpoint of personal worth as well, then it's going to not only be holding the big picture, and you do that really always, and inspiring people, but it's going to be being a great example for those day-to-day operations. But then one of the most important things is knowing when to let go, when to start helping that person, you know, be on their own totally. Because if they don't grow to the point where they're on their own totally, and they're really running, a functioning business that they're totally in control of, then you're not free to go and create more. So, you know, it's a very important combination, and one that as your business grows, you know, you'll get to where
Please do not lock the door.
that balance is more and more in a way that gives you more and more time. It's where time freedom comes from. Time freedom comes from really being able to grow that new baby, you might say. And I've always referred to my team as my babies. You don't mess with my babies, my checkbook, my money, or my car was the other thing, I think. And that goes for my children, my distributors. But it's really helping that person grow up to where they're in total control. You might even refer to it as interdependence. They're not dependent, but they are still interactive, and we're all interdependent on supporting each other. But when someone really steps up and they take total control of their business, then you know you've done the best job. Actually, the Australian team, I got tickled with, I love this, because we were talking about leading from the back, meaning that you want to grow that superstar up to where they're on stage and you're in the back of the room. And so they've created t-shirts that on the back is written, leading from the back. I thought that was cute. But, you know, I think it's really important to get that. If we talk about the you part, certainly positive thinking and working at that, and discipline of, your own thought process that we talked about over the last 2 weeks, but then also getting that big picture of the vision. You are the one who holds and shares and creates the big picture, the day-to-day operations where you're the example, and then growing that person up and really letting them have the joy of totally running their own business. And you're the cheerleader from the back of the room. So thank you, Arlita. And we appreciate the time and everyone else that's been with us. And
Thank you for the privilege, Cheryl.
and just great stories tonight. Enjoyed you all so much and just so proud for everybody.
They were fantastic, weren't they? Yeah, they were just great. I could have listened to them all evening.
I tell you what, Charlene and Chandria have a rocking team out there.
Yeah.
Proud of them. So, but just happy for everyone, and we'll see you again next week. And this Thursday night is for everyone, and to come every week. There are always things. This is one of the things that I always did, especially in the early years of my business, but I still do it today. Is I want to hear whatever I want to collect everybody's stories. I want to hear everybody's little tips on what they do, when they're in conversation, when they're talking about their business. I used to, in the beginning, I would go to hear the national marketing directors just so I could capture their transition words from when they went from talking about product to business. How did they make that transition? All the little things that you pick up. I know one of our national marketing directors years ago, this has got to be 25 years ago, saying that if he just got one little nugget that really made that difference, then, it was sharpening the sword. It was sharpening his business as far as him being effective. So I encourage you to invite people. We're here every Thursday night. We do it just to help the teams grow, and all of us give what we feel is the things that have helped us the most. So it's an honor and a pleasure to work with all of you. Thank you, Arlita, and thank all of our stories, and Mary Derry for your help tonight, and all of you in sharing with one another. So have a great week, and hopefully we'll hear you on Monday night on our Monday night call. Okay. It's really, I think this point in time, leadership is so important in every aspect, and especially supporting people in our communities, in our world, and the challenges that we've all met together and are continuing to meet. But we're the people who can help. So let's do. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Good
Good
night.
job, everybody.
Good
Yes.
night.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank
Night.
you all.
Good night.
Good
Good to see you.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Enjoyed every.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank
was
you,
great.
Arlita. It
Good
was
night.
great.
That was
Get
a
it,
nice
Shirley.
session. Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Arlita. It was very nice. Enjoyed
Good night.
it.
That was awesome.
Great.
You was awesome. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
night.